Hello and welcome everyone to another puzzle challenge video with ChessUniversity.com. This is Ryan Murphy, and I'd like to start this video off by presenting first the solution to yesterday's puzzle challenge, and then we'll move on to the new puzzle, which will be the last one of the week, so it'll still be in the difficult category for players around 2000. But as I said, let's begin with the solution to yesterday's puzzle. As I mentioned in the previous video, this game comes from an online 3+2 blitz game. I was playing against a friend, and it's white to play here and win. And it's not so much it's a deep calculation as it's more of an evaluation slash a sort of understanding the resulting position exercise. So if you haven't already solved it, please take a moment now to pause, because I do want to continue with the solution now. In the game I played rook d6, completely overlooking the move bishop g4, and then I was worse and lost at some point, and managed to win anyway because of some tricks later, but that's blitz. The move that I wanted to pull the trigger on but didn't because I wasn't quite sure about the resulting endgame is the move rook takes d7, and it is the best move. And after takes, the point of course is to go bishop f5 to regain the exchange. And then after either rook e7 or rook d8, they're going to transpose, because the point is that we're going to simplify into a king and pawn endgame here. I was only considering the move king c2 in my calculation, and I just wasn't sure if I was in time, if black unpins here, if I trade everything and I run the king to e4. I probably am in time, and this is probably also good. I think the point is just overall the endgame is winning. I think it's probably more precise though to start with a move like a4, trying to fix the queenside. Really just kind of, if b5 you always want to be able to meet that with takes, and if b6, well, eventually you can try to run black out of moves. So basically the point is something like this. So we're going to go here, we're going to take everything, and now here you can probably go a5 and fix the pawns entirely, but you can also just bring the king towards the weakness on e5 with king c2, d3, e4. Black can bring their king forward, let's say king d6 or e6, it's not going to matter very much. I think here a5 is probably too strong though, so probably black should prevent this first with b6. And now, again, you activate the king. Black can do the same if they want. If black ever plays b5, you're just going to be able to play a5, and eventually you're going to reach a position like the following. So it's going to be like this, and there's going to be a bunch of waiting moves. And the problem is, because you have f3 and g4 and b3 and b4, you have all these different pawn waiting moves. You basically have too many reserve tempi, and if the king ever goes to d6, your king is going to be able to march and take the g7 h6 pawns and run the h pawn. Once you force black, if you can force black to move c5, there's also going to be an awkward scenario where the black king also can't go to f6, because then you'll go to d5 and then collect a6 and then win the queen side. So basically you're going to put black in zugzwang here. So it is nice, I think, to start with a4 so that you have this a5 possibility. And if black prevents this by playing b6 and doesn't play b5 and just kind of tries to sit like this, for example, here you can just go b4 and create the outside, either an outside passer if they take, you're going to go a5 and win, or what else can they really do? It's basically a similar situation where black is going to be outweighted because white has more reserve tempi. In fact, already here it's not that easy to find a move. If c5, for example, you can just trade, play c4, and it's already zugzwang. If king d6, king f5, if king f6, king d5, and white's king walks in. So that's the solution to the puzzle from yesterday. You simply you take on d7, you create this pin, and then you transfer into the pawn ending. And I think it is a nice finesse to start with a4, though it might not even be necessary. You could probably just go king c2 and with the same ideas, though I'm a little bit less sure about that one. Okay, so that's the solution to yesterday's puzzle. Now we can move on to the new stuff. This one comes from one of my tournament games from last year I played in Canada. It's a classical tournament. I was playing FIDE Master, and yeah, it's white to play here and try to find the best continuation. I did not do so in the game. I ended up losing. But yeah, white to play and try to find the best move here. if you want to make your official comment on the chessuniversity.com website for rewards points, do check out the description of the YouTube video, because I'll put a link there for the official post. So otherwise, feel free to share your comments in the YouTube comments with what you think the solution is, or engage with other people there. You know, typical YouTube stuff. So I want to go back and cover, how this game progressed up to the point that it's currently at. It was a Sicilian. I played this b3 nonsense. I have 6 bishop b5 check. I don't like bishop b5 check now. I didn't even like it during the game, actually. As soon as I played this move, I knew it was wrong. Yeah, not a good sign. The thing is, after black blocks on d7, in either way, if I ever trade, I'm sort of helping black develop, and later black's going to have a6 to win a tempo against my bishop and force me to trade or retreat. Either case, I lose time. So yeah, this just kind of helps black get closer to castling. I got queen e2. I was very concerned about the move queen a5 check here, but fortunately that never happened, because after queen a5 check, I thought I'd have to play the move c3. If I were to block like this on d2, I was very concerned about queen e5. So yeah, I kind of dodged a bullet here. The queen a5 check wasn't played because that looked very unpleasant. Instead, d5 was played, which was also pretty reasonable. Just trying to equalize in the center. So I castled. I don't want to allow queen a5 check anymore. Bishop e7 was played, and now I get c4. And I was actually pretty happy about this position, because white should just be slightly better for nothing. Just have kind of more active pieces, basically, a better centralization. So all of this is logical. Queen f3 is kind of a stupid move. It walked straight into knight e5, which was played. And I took, leading to some tactics. I mean, knight e5 is just a discovered attack on the d4 knight. That's the whole reason it works. Then d4 is slightly loose. So we go for this line where we simplify somewhat, and now black should be fine, because my lead and activity no longer exists since half of my pieces are getting traded. Knight d5 played here, kind of one of the more complicated moves. I could also, of course, just move the rook away. Rook back to like e2 or e1, both look sensible. Knight d5 is the more complicated move. And after takes knight b4, I kind of blundered here with bishop c5. This was the last round of a day where I think we'd played 3 long games, so I was really tired just overlooking really basic stuff. Queen c7, of course, gets out of the fork with tempo. And I spent forever here and played rook g5. Very fortunate that I'm not losing a piece, actually, here. h6. I played the move rook h5. In fact, here actually is a good moment to maybe pause and ask what you guys would do, because there was another pretty practical chance I had here that I did not fully consider. Yeah, so an interesting option here. There's actually 2 interesting options. One is queen g3, which I don't even think I saw like as a candidate move over the board. I don't remember even considering this move as a possibility, but it just threatens rook takes g7 and offers a queen trade, and this sort of can help bring the rook back into the game in a less awkward way. The other one, which is interesting and is at least worthy of consideration, is rook takes g7. This one I may have considered. I don't actually remember. And yeah, the whole point is just to play on the dark squares. Like bishop's going to come to c3, and a lot of weak squares around the king here. So there's some compensation for sure. This would not be very fun to play as black, actually. I played rook h5 with the ideas of going bishop e3 and sacking on h6 and playing queen f6. So similar to rook takes g7, but just a lot less forcing and a lot less good. So anyway, knight c6 played. Bishop to e3, rook d8, and the big problem for black, I mean black's clearly better, sorry. The big problem for white is the rook on h5 is just out of play. If no tactics are happening over here against the black king, then the fact that black's going to have the d-file is way more important than any like bluffing that I'm doing on the king side. So I played h3 so I don't get back rank mated by accident. Knight e7, trying to go knight f5 or knight g6 to shore up the position. I played rook b5, trying to create a threat. And I played g3 and king g2 just to solidify a little bit. And here I'm actually not in huge trouble. Like I've sort of recovered from having the really dumb rook on h5. Although my rook isn't so much better on b5, to be fair. So b6, queen g4, threatening to take on h6, king h7, rook back to h5. Knight e7, rook back to b5. This part was pretty aimless, to be honest. Knight f5, queen to f3. And queen d3 played here, pinning along the third rank. Here I played a4. I think my intention here was to play the move a5, and try to break up these pawns and get counterplay. If I could get my rook to the 7th rank, that would be probably the best it's looked in a long time. And here my opponent played the move knight d6, which turns out to be a pretty big mistake, which I did not quite capitalize on. So this is the key position and the tactic for today. So once again, if you see it, feel free to leave a comment. And with that, I will leave you guys to solve it. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video.